Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 18 Strong podcast. We have another live episode provided and presented to you by Link Soul. And I've got a very special guest. We've got a little different guest on the episode today. Normally, we're talking about performance on the course or performance in the gym to help your golf game. But today, we have Todd Bohn, the Director of Agronomy at Big Cedar Golf. And for any of you that have been listening to the 18 Strong podcast over the years, almost 6 years now, we have been talking about Big Cedar Golf for the last several years, especially the amazing things that they're doing down there, the courses that they're building, the designers that they're working with, and the vision that Johnny Morris has had to basically create a golf mecca, is the way we like to say it, in the Midwest. And so I'm going to bring in Todd Bohn here. Todd, welcome to the 18 Strong podcast.
Nice to be with you. How you all doing today?
It's going to be fun to catch up on, all the things that have happened since the last time I had Steve Friedlander on a few years ago when he was there directing the big project that you guys have going on, and I had just been there not too far. I think I visited before I had him on the show, and that's when I played Buffalo Ridge. I played the Mountaintop Course, which is an incredible 13-hole designed by Gary Player, but there's been a lot that has gone on since that time. But before we dive into all the different pieces of the property and things going on, give me a little background on you and how you got into the world of agronomy, first of all.
All right. Well, I grew up in a small town in south central Kansas called Pratt, Kansas. And my dad was in the cattle business, and I've kind of always been around the ag side of things in my career, and so I played high school golf too, and I never even thought about getting into the turf side of things or anything at that time. I was a jock, I played football, I played golf, and then I actually went on and played college football for a year at a Division II school, and I got tired of playing football, so I transferred to Kansas State University, where I went to college, and my family's got a big, long history at Kansas State University, and so I went there. I thought about playing some football there, but I was just burnt out on playing football. I just wanted to be a college student, and so at that time they were starting the golf course management program there at Kansas State, and my dad, being connected with the school and everything, said, "You got to check this out, and you like to be outside, you like to be in sports, you like to do things," and one of my favorite jobs in high school, ironically, was farming. I farmed and did wheat harvest with some guys around Pratt a lot of times, and so I'm not a farmer now, but I'm kind of like that, now with what I'm doing. But so I kind of got into it, approached it there at Kansas State, looked into it, thought I would try it, and went into it full force and got involved, got really heavily involved, met some really great people, and that's where I'm at, right now. So, or why I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
Can you give us a little more description of what is agronomy? Because I have a feeling that a lot of people listening to this, watching this, don't really understand. I personally don't really understand exactly what the nature of the things that you do and what you're in charge of on the courses, and now especially you're in charge of all of these properties, I believe, at Big Cedar.
Yeah, so a lot of times everybody asks me, they said, what's your title? And I said, you want the fancy title of Director of Agronomy, but what I call myself is just a glorified grass guy. That's what I call myself. But basically, agronomy is just anything with turf, with grass, with trees, with plants, just managing, maintaining, all of that is basically what agronomy is. You hear it on the crop side too, farmers and crops, and it's basically the science of growing plants. So.
Now, how did you get and when did you join the team at Big Cedar? How did that whole thing transpire?
So most of my career I've been in the Kansas City area, up there at various golf courses. I was an assistant superintendent at several, Blue Hills Country Club, Hillcrest Country Club, Nicholas Golf Club at Lionsgate. And then I got my first break at being a head superintendent at Creekmore, Golf Club at Creekmore out there in Raymore, and I actually did the construction and growing of that as the head superintendent out there. And then after 5 to 6 years there, I got the opportunity to go to Wolf Creek Golf Club there in Kansas City and be the superintendent there. And while I was there, I became very good friends with, over a long story short, but with Tom Watson, who most everybody on your podcast should know.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And so I had the privilege of developing a friendship with Tom, and spent some time helping him at his house and doing some things, and talked to him while he was out there. And along that lines, there was an opportunity that came up down here, and I had heard of things that they were doing down here, but I really, I was happy in Kansas City. My family was happy there in Kansas City. And so I got a phone call one day randomly from Bass Pro, and they were asking me, and I was like, who the heck and what the heck, why are people calling me? And I kind of said, okay, and I listened to him for a little bit, and then I hung up, and I was like, man, what was that? And then like about 3 weeks later, I got another phone call from Big Cedar HR that was asking me to come down and take a look, and I was like, I don't understand why you all keep calling me. They're just like, we're just trying to acquire talent and things, and so they ended up convincing me to come down and talk to them over a period of time, but for the story's sake here. And so I came down and met with a lot of really wonderful people down here and got to see the property. And at the end of the deal, I got to meet one-on-one with John, our owner, and he would talk to me and just laid out his passion and his desire for what was going to go on here in the future. And I mean, I was sitting there across the table from him going, man, this is something else. And I kind of said something like, why are you talking to me? Like, how did you, he goes, well, there was two people who I consider in the game of golf to be, who I consider to be very people, people who I would trust in word and whatever. And he goes, do you know a guy by the name of Tom Watson? And I said, yeah, matter of fact, I do. And then he said Bill Coore too, who I knew a friend of a friend with Bill Coore, but I didn't know Bill Coore at the time. And so I was just very humbled and very honored that those two would call on my behalf and tell John. And I've been down here for 4.5 years now. So the rest has been history and a lot of memories. And I've got to be a part of a lot of really cool stuff here.
So when you came down 4.5 years ago, at what stage were they in the process? Like, what had already been kind of changed over? I know Buffalo Ridge, what used to be Branson Hills, right? Was that already Buffalo Ridge at the time, or was that in the process of changing?
Branson, it used to be Branson Creek.
Branson Creek, yeah.
Main sewer course.
Right, sorry.
When I got down here 4.5 years ago, John had Top of the Rock Golf Course was operating, and then he had Buffalo Ridge here that was operating, formerly Branson Creek. He had just bought it like 2 or 3 years prior to me arriving, and had done a lot of facelifts to it in natural Johnny way of adding water and rock and making it even better and changing the bunkers around and doing everything. So I got here on the very tail end of that. And then they had just broken ground on Mountaintop, the Gary Player 13-hole par 3 course, and they were talking with Bill and Ben and kind of finalizing Bill and Ben's property over at Ozarks National. So there was a field out there. It was completely a field. And then the Paynes Valley course wasn't even in consideration at the moment.
Okay.
So I've got to see a lot of really cool stuff and being here and getting to be a part of a lot of really cool things and meeting a lot of really cool people in golf, and thankful to John for allowing me to do that.
Well, I'm going to apologize to the audience right out of the gate because I think I'm probably going to ask some fairly detailed questions about different things on the property that I know a lot of people that are listening haven't had a chance to see, but that'll just entice them to get down there to go see it for themselves. But one thing I want to ask you about, just meeting with Mr. Morris at the very beginning, because that's something that I've heard from several people that I've talked to through Big Cedar. And I remember talking to Steve Friedlander about it too. And when he had a chance to meet face-to-face with Mr. Morris, just like you said, it was this vision that he had laid out and had so specifically put in front of the different people and the passion that he had behind it. So can you give me a little bit more of just your experience of him and, the passion that he has for the project that he's building and what he's already brought to life?
Jeff, I can't understate what I'm going to say, or I can't overstate, I guess is what I want to say. He's just a man of high character, high value, passionate about what he does. You can see it throughout his stores, throughout Bass Pro, throughout Cabela's. When you spend time with people that work for him, you figure out real quick that this is a family business. It's a big company, but it's a family business. And the family approach that him and his family and all the leaders in his company take to this really is special. And when you lump onto it the Southern hospitality and the people around this area, it's really cool. But when you spend time with him, when you get him out into nature and you get him out into bringing people to the outdoors and getting kids into the outdoors, and you start talking fishing, I mean, he'll just light up like crazy, and just that passion, just that, you want to be a part of that, and you want to be with that, and just his care for the land and the amount of time that he spends out here every day that he's around and very hands-on, and it's just a lot of fun, and I feel very fortunate to be in the position where I get to interact with him on a pretty regular basis and get to be a part of building some of the great things that we're building out here in the golf courses, and then some of the other stuff that's getting ready to come on board, some of the exciting stuff that's going to be coming on. But it's just when you sit there, you just want to run through a wall for him, and it's just his way of doing things, and his passion for it permeates you, and you can't help but not having passion.
From everything that I've seen personally being down there, and then everything else that I've heard about him, and obviously it flows into the work that you do, it's the attention to detail that you guys have on everything from the clubhouses to the restaurants to the layout on the course. I mean, everything is so perfectly, manicured, from the different designs and what's hanging on the wall. And I've heard that he has so much of a hands-on approach to that. Is that true? And does that carry over into the line of work that you're doing too for what you guys are doing on the course?
That's very true. I mean, he always tells you details matter, and the little things, and that is him. I mean, a lot of that is all him, and he'll come through and see something that you're like, wow, where did he see that from? But he's just got a knack for it, and that comes through you over time, and you learn that the details matter, and that's what we always try to do. I press it with my guys down here. My team working with me on the golf courses is, we're not perfect. I'm not going to be the first one to, I'm going to be the first one to tell you that we're not perfect, but we try very, very hard, and that's coming from him and from the top, and if people spend time down here, they'll see these handwritten white signs down here that welcome people on our trails or welcome them, and almost all of those is handwritten by him.
Really?
And so that tells you the details, just the amount of details, and it goes all the way down into the flag colors we have on our greens for flags, and tee markers and just stuff like that. That's all important to him, and he's spot on all the time when he does it, because he's got the look and he's got the knack, and he knows what he wants it to look like, and it all works very, very well together.
Yeah, that's amazing that he has that much vision to even go down to those minute details. So what are some of the big things happening there right now? Obviously, a lot has happened over the last several years, but you alluded to some even bigger things that are coming about. What are some of the big projects that you're particularly working on, and maybe even what is there for Big Cedar Golf in general?
So obviously, last year was a big year for us, getting Ozarks National Open, and then it winning the best new course of the year was a huge honor for us. But coming right behind it, we got our Paynes Valley project, which I know a lot of people have been talking about, our Tiger Woods design 18-hole golf course. And we're in the finishing stages of that. And right now we're building the 19th hole, which is going to mind blow everybody that comes through that thing. It's going to be it's the ultimate capper to everything that we've done over the last 4.5 years. It's going to be a short par three hole, but it's going to have all kinds of eye candy and all kinds of water features, and it's at the base of a 180-foot rock cliff. You're going to climb up the rock cliff in a golf cart as you leave and just see nature and beauty, and the views once you get to the top are going to be unbelievable. And then we're working on some golf lodging out here as well that we're going to have in the near future to have for people that come to stay and golf. Big Cedar is a sought-after place for families and everybody to go, and we want to be a sought-after place for golf, and we know that we got to have some rooms available. And so we're working down that. And then we're working on a Payne Stewart learning center, golf learning center, which is going to be over at the range at Ozarks National, which is going to have all the fun gadgets and gizmos in there, the simulators, the putting tables, all that, hitting bays, and some of that. So it's going to keep getting better and better down here. We're heavy at it right now and working at it, and but yeah, it's going to continue to get better and better. It's going to hopefully continue to bring people back to keep checking us out, kind of like when you go to Walt Disney World. So
you mentioned that Bill Coore is a guy that has been an influence on you, and obviously you got to work with him and Ben Crenshaw on their design. How much involvement do you have with the architects themselves? And does it just kind of vary and differ between who the guys are, the designers and the architects, how involved they are, and how much you get to see them and work with them?
We are very much, myself and my team members are very much involved with the architects when they're here on visits. Obviously, John and his son JP are very heavily involved too with them. But after they kind of leave and after their visits with them, we get involved on just executing all the wishes and building things, trying to give guidance when they have questions on how to build things, grass types, soil types, drainage things, if we build this bunker this way, can you mow it? Can you maintain it reasonably without having to send an army out there? That's one thing in golf course management, time's money and everything's money, and you want to have these fancy things, you want to do these things, but sometimes you got to work together with the people maintaining it and the architects to get something that we can all agree that we can maintain efficiently and quickly, because we're trying to get out of the way of players and stuff. And so, yeah, I've been very, very fortunate to be interactive with Ben and Bill on their project, the two best in the business, in my opinion, just true gentlemen. Just everything you read on Ben and Bill is true, that they're just, I don't know if they've ever made anybody mad in their life. I mean, they just got away. They're just true gentlemen, and their work is bar none, and I mean it's just so good, and their approach is so different from everybody else. The minimalistic, not moving a lot of dirt, using the natural land is just a different approach than a lot of people. And then on Tiger's side, we had Bo Willing and Shane Robichaux here, and great people, just a different way of doing things, wider corridors, playing corridors, bigger greens. The Tiger, that's part of Tiger's deal too when he's here, is with them. And, Bo and Shane are very heavily involved down in Frisco right now, on that project down at PGA. So that's the same team that we had here on our project that we're finishing up. Just first class individuals, just great people to work with. And then Gary Player's team, I worked with Jeff Lawrence, who used to live in Kansas City at one time and part of the Fazio team. And, he's with Gary Player, or he was. He's not anymore, but he was on our job, and just a lot of fun. When you get to interact with the Black Knight, and you get to interact with Bill and Ben, and you get to interact with Tiger Woods and their teams, and then you got Jack Nicklaus at Top of the Rock, and you get to interact with his team. And we had Arnold Palmer. Unfortunately, I didn't ever get to meet Mr. Palmer before I got here. He was here right before he passed away with John, on our driving range over there. And I wish I could have got to meet him, but nobody can say they get to do that, like I do, and thankful for Johnny and his family for allowing me to do it. So.
Now, when you're working on some of these projects with these guys, are you guys doing any of the moving of the earth, or is yours all simply with the turf side?
So my team is strictly, we usually have contractors and dirt movers moving all the earth and doing most of that. And then my team comes in once the grass hits the ground. It's all of ours. And we got to grow it in and take it. We seed the greens. We seed all the greens ourselves and grow them in. And then we're kind of the person managing that child. Each golf course is like a child. It's all got its mannerisms and its stuff. So it's a love-hate relationship sometimes going through a bunch of construction with them. And Mother Nature can be a challenge, at times. And so my team has to be resolved, and they work hard. And we take it basically from once the grass hits to getting it to the opening state, and then we're there through the rest of the time maintaining it.
Now, I know that from what I've heard and talking to some of the guys around St. Louis that are superintendents at clubs, that the Midwest, St. Louis, where you guys are, is definitely a very challenging area because we can have swings in weather and different patterns and heat and cold and things like that. Are all of the courses down there, do they all have different types of turf based on what the designer wanted, or is that something that you guys figure out because of where you are and your location, that you kind of pick which turf is best? And then what are some other challenges that you guys face because of where you are?
So yes, so that's a great question. The architect and me, we usually meet and we discuss, first of all, playability. Like, how do you want this golf course to play when it's done? Because that's how you choose your grass types, really. I mean, we're kind of hamstrung with the climate we're in. Like, there's only certain grasses that you can use in this part of the country and have success. But playability is a huge part of it, and seeing what we got and where balls are going to run out and not run out and do things. And so there's a collaborative effort, and then they usually turn to me and say, what works best in this area? What do we do? Can we manipulate it? Can we manage it in a way to manipulate it? So like at Ozarks National, Ben and Bill are huge on playing the ball on the ground. If you go to any of their properties, they like it to be dry, crispy, kind of not real plush green like a lot of people like it. You won't see Bill and Ben design an Augusta National. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so they like the ball to play on the ground. They design the golf course that way. So their bunkering and their greens and everything are that way. Well, in this part of the country, we have zoysia grass. That's like the bar one. The Meyer zoysia grass is like the number one zoysia grass that anybody grows around here because it's the hardiest. It survives the winters and does things. Well, zoysia grass tends to be a little sticky. It can be a little Velcro. Your ball doesn't play on the ground as much. And so Bill and Ben and I went back and forth all the time because they were, are you sure you can get this? You sure you can play this? You sure we can? And I was like, yeah, we can. And Bill will laugh about it. I think if you got him on here, he would be still probably giving me a bunch of crap about it. But he's like, you sure you can get that? And my team over there has worked really, really hard, and that's our goal over there. And how we accomplished that was we did a lot of things under the ground that people won't even know, the type of soil we use. It's all topsoil over there. So down here, you asked about one of the challenges down here. And one of them is obviously our soil. It's very rocky and very red clay. So that doesn't produce good turf quality a lot of times. So everything we do, we have to cap. So we have to haul in a material to put on our fairways out here. And so over there, for instance, and I'll get to the others and I'll explain to you the difference, but over there we have all topsoil on the ground. Well, the reason it's all topsoil is because they don't want any infiltration. They don't want the water coming through the profile, getting into drain lines. They want to surface drain everything off. Well, that presents a challenge with growing it in. It's a challenge to wait on that because when you get a storm, if you're surface draining and you got loose sod, you tend to have some washouts and some things. Mm-hmm. But once you get it rooted in, the topsoil is not permeable and it'll set up a little firmer in the heat of the summer and allow you to play that. And then we can also cut our inputs in that topsoil because it holds nutrients a little better. And so we can lean down the grass and have it not growing as hard and do some things like that, which helps make the ball perform and mow and roll and all that. Whereas conversely on Tiger Woods course, Payne Valley, we have a topsoil sand mix on those fairways because when I talked to Shane and Bo and John, they want a little more green color down there. They wanted it to be a little more manicured look, but they still want the ball to play on the ground a little bit. And so we went with a sand topsoil mix down there, like a 90 or 80-20 mix. And it actually is performing very, very well. We got to put a little more nutrients in there, to keep us, which produces a little more growth on us. But we still feel like we'll be able to have the ball play on the ground a little bit down there. The trade-off is Paynes Valley is going to drain out a lot faster when we get a rainstorm, whereas Ozarks National is going to stay a little damper on us, but it actually drains out way better than I ever thought it would, and quicker. But that's kind of the trade-off that they were willing to sacrifice. Somewhere there's a give and take on it. And then at Paynes Valley, we actually have a new grass down there. Well, it's not new, but it's newer to our area. We got a Xeon zoysia down there on our tee boxes and around our greens. And it's a finer leaf zoysia that is not as cold tolerant as Meyer. It's been the knock on it. And so we're kind of taking a little bit of a gamble, although the early reports is this grass is phenomenal. I know there's some people in Kansas City using it, and there's some people, and obviously we have it, and we're kind of, Kansas City and us are kind of the furthest northern people that have it right now. So there's a lot of people calling, asking, we've got a little research project going on down here, which is kind of fun. But we're going to be able to mow that grass. The true thing about it versus the Meyer grass is we're going to be able to mow it like at a 1/4 inch where you can putt off of it. So Tiger's thing was around the greens is he wanted the amateur golfer to be able to recover around the greens and not have a tough shot playing into the greens. So he wanted to be able to putt around the greens and to play around the greens. And so that was kind of the driver with some of that. That grass is not real readily available. It's getting to be more and more available. People say, why didn't you put this wall to wall on a project? Well, it is still susceptible to winter kill. So on a marginal year, you'll still get winter kill on Meyer zoysia, which you'll have to replace some acres. But on that marginal year with Xeon, you could have a pretty catastrophic potential winter kill issue if in our winters. And so going in and planting 95 acres of that or 85 acres of that in our fairways is a little risky on my end, to be given to an owner and just saying that we're spending the money the best way. So this was kind of my settlement as far as to try it and to see how it goes, and to not over risk us a little bit, to have, if we do have an issue. But we've had some cold winters, and there's been no issue so far. So I think it's something that'll become a popular thing. And then obviously at Mountaintop on that par 3 course, that golf course is 100% sand cap. So it's built like it's almost built like on a sand beach up there. So
okay.
That thing drains out and goes and plays. And they, that was basically, they just wanted to move water out of it to get away. It's a par 3 golf course, so we just didn't want it to be soupy and wet up there on the top of the hill. And so that's why we did sand capping up there. But and then obviously Top of the Rock and Buffalo Ridge all have native soil, so it's a little different managing them. So each golf course, I have a superintendent under me at each golf course, and each course has its own challenges. And you do things a little different. We can kind of do things the same across, but each one requires just like a person. It's got a personality, like I said, and characteristics. So that's a long-winded answer to your question, but that's kind of some of the things we deal with. And obviously we have some disease pressure down here, with the humidity and the rains, that we got to be on our toes on greens and on our fescue roughs, on a couple of our courses that have them that, we have down here. So.
No, that gave me a lot of insight into, what the differences are between all of them. Speaking of the Mountaintop Course, and again, people have heard me say this, but that to me still is one of my greatest golf experiences that I've ever had. My buddies and I, we went down a couple of years ago when I turned 40 years old. All 4 of us had just turned 40. We decided to take a little trip. We played Buffalo Ridge in the morning, went and had a beer at the Mountaintop Clubhouse, and then went out. And at first I was thinking like, okay, 13 holes, par 3, like what's this going to be like? And from the time we got into the clubhouse, and everybody in the clubhouse was so great, and it's such a relaxed atmosphere out there too. They're like, no, you just go out, there's no tee markers. You just hit from wherever you want to hit, and have a good time. It's a walking course, and it was so much fun. And just being up top like that, I'd never been in a scenery like that on a golf course, looking out, seeing these amazing holes. And then when you get out into the course and you're looking back at the clubhouse sitting up top, it's just such an amazing experience. I want to know, so you were part of putting that together when the Gary Player design team was out there, right? So what was that like being up on that kind of landscape? Because that's at the highest point, right?
Yes. So that is a very unique property. I mean, that is the highest point in this county down here in Taney County is that clubhouse up there. And you're one of a list of a lot of people that have told me they've had the same experience up there. And I continue to tell John that he built a little slice at that. There ain't a whole lot of better, in my opinion. Obviously, I may be biased because I'm here, but I haven't gone to look at a lot of other par threes. I've seen a lot, but I can't imagine there being any par three golf courses better than that one. Like I really don't. Like it,
No.
It's just so pure. It's just that to your point, the simplicity of it. There's nothing fancy. It looks like it's been there for a while. The natural native grasses around it. The rock outcroppings that John uncovered by hand in the middle of it, those limestone outcroppings and the bridges that he built through there. It's just truly a special place. And when we were building that, I was like, you want me to grow grass on this land?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it was like a big rock pile. I mean, it really was. I mean, just to see how we built that. I mean, it's people only knew how that thing was built, they would blow their mind. But it is a true special property, and it's relatively pretty low maintenance for us, really, too. With the zoysia grass and the native grasses and stuff. It's just a true gem, and it's just people are finding it out more and more as we go. It's a walking only course. And so, but it's just a beauty. It just really fits in up there nicely out in front of that, and here before long, we'll have it all done, and you'll be having like a 360-degree view of golf standing up there on that patio having your beer the next time you come back. So it'll be a really cool spot. It'll be a very sought-after spot. And then obviously, I don't know when you were here if we had the Tom Watson practice area done out in front of the clubhouse.
It was being built when we pulled up. First of all, just pulling up on that circular drive is such a cool. At first, we're kind of like, whoa, are we supposed to even be driving on this thing? And you're driving up, pulling around the clubhouse there, and so it's right in there, right when you pull up to the house there.
Yeah, we've got a 10,000 square foot just plain. I don't want to say plain, make it sound bad, but just your traditional practice putting green for the courses. And then we've got a 55,000 square foot Himalayan putting green that we do 9 holes out, putting course out there. And it's modeled off the one at St. Andrews and over there in Scotland that Tom Watson, is obviously a long lost son over there.
Yeah.
With them folks. And it just ties in Tom. And obviously, we had a Himalayan green at Top of the Rock, back before I got here, and then this one thing opened up called the Sinkhole over there, or the Cathedral of Nature over there that we now have. That's now, 250 foot deep or 40 foot deep by however big, turning it into an attraction over there. But so Johnny said he felt bad for Tom that we had to build, and it fits in over here very, very well because you stand up on that thing in the evening and you putt around with your friends. There's no better setting in the sun going down out there at Mountaintop in that clubhouse and Paynes Valley, and just it's a really cool. Top of the Rock's got a great sunset ceremony, with the lake and everything. You're probably going to touch that, but a close 1A to 1B is out here at Mountaintop, and a lot of people say that sitting in that clubhouse in the evenings and stuff, and just the natural rock formations lighting up. But it's just it's a cool place to be.
Well, if we could have capped off our day after playing Buffalo Ridge, then the Mountaintop, and then the Himalayan course out there with a couple beers in the evening, that would have been a little slice of heaven for sure. As far as on the Mountaintop, you mentioned some of the rock formations and everything that were dug out. I was wondering if all those were completely already there, or if any of that was brought in. And kind of a funny story, we came out of the clubhouse to go to the first tee box, and as we're standing there, we kept hearing this scraping noise, and we're like, what is that? And we walk over to the ledge and look over the little fence there, and there was a guy literally with a shovel and a bucket, like scooping out some of the dirt, like excavating some of that rock, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is the attention to detail that we've been talking about, where they're literally hand-picking some of this dirt out of these rocks.
Yeah, so all of that rock out there was natural in nature and was uncovered. So we started digging around and we find rock formations. And on top of being a good business person, and everything, he's a rock connoisseur. John is. So he's got the knack for knowing what good rock looks like from bad rock. And so you just start kind of uncovering it with machines and getting most of the bulk out of there. And then once you get the most of the bulk out of there, we bring in a team of guys that use some air hoses and shovels and stuff, and get the nooks and crannies cleaned, and you get what you see out there, and there's, depending on when you were here, there's a lot more uncovered around the back of that clubhouse now, and just setting it up. I kid John sometimes that too bad the name Top of the Rock was already coined at Top of the Rock, because now that clubhouse is truly sitting on top of the rock over there. So but yeah, that is, I mean, he's just very passionate about that stuff, about the rock and the nature, and bringing it to people and getting people close to it. I mean, he loves getting you on dang up high and narrow pass, and getting you near it. So
I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, Todd, because I didn't prep you for this question, but I think it's kind of a fun one. Knowing that you're a golfer, you've got a background playing a lot of golf. You've got these different courses, Buffalo Ridge, Ozark National, Paynes Valley. If you could give a 2 or 3 word description for each course from a golfer's perspective on, kind of the difference between them. And let's just say those 4, Mountaintop thrown in there as well. How would you describe each of those to the person that has never been there and is curious about what each course is like?
I would say at Ozarks National, I would start out with just rustic elegance over there. I know that's 2 words. You told me 1 word, but
2, 3, but yeah.
Rustic elegance over there for Ozarks National. It's just, it's a special place. It really is. And then Paynes Valley, I'm going to just say mind blowing because of it's going to have a lot of the eye candy. It's got elevation change. It's got grass types. It's got water. It's vast. It's big. It's cool. I mean, it's just going to have a lot of that. Buffalo Ridge, I'm going to say that's, I've heard it's one of Fazio's better golf courses. I'm going to say it's a hidden gem. It really is. It's got a cult following behind it, I tell people all the time, because people love playing it. And unfortunately for it, it's getting overshadowed a little bit because everybody's talking about the new courses we got. But that place is just, it's as good as it is, with a Fazio design. And, I didn't talk about Tom earlier, having a chance. He's been here on site, and being able to be with him has truly been special too. And then Mountaintop, I would say Mountaintop is perfect. I think it's just simple and perfect. A lot of my turf buddies that come see me or whatever are just like, this is like the perfect golf course. And just maintaining it and doing it just sits in there perfect. And then I know you said 4, but Top of the Rock, I call Top of the Rock the Disneyland in the Midwest. So the Disneyland of golf is what I call Top of the Rock. So it'll have everything for everybody around each corner. So
yeah, speaking of Buffalo Ridge, that really is one of my favorite courses to play. It's so fun. It's so playable. It's not like a course where somebody's going to go out that is an average golfer and get beat up and hate the course. I mean, they're going to love it. The views obviously are just insane and incredible, and all the details on the course are great, but such a great playable design. I think Fazio, I love his courses, but I think, like you said, with all these other courses that are kind of taking the stage, it's almost like when somebody goes over there, maybe expecting a little lesser of an experience, they're even more blown away at how great it is, because it is just phenomenal. And standing on that first tee box, when you look to your left side and you've got the bison run, over on the range, the buffalo over on the range there, it's just there's so many cool things that obviously you can tell. I want people to go see this. I love promoting this Midwest golf. Everybody talks about Bandon Dunes and Whistling Straits and all this stuff, but I think that people don't understand what we have here. Now, what as far as in the future, are you guys looking at hosting any possible PGA events? I know that the Legends of Golf Tour is not coming down there anymore. That has expired, but are you guys looking with these new courses into any future tournaments there?
I think it's always an opportunity. Jeff, I don't know what John and his son have in store, but I think John's got a passion for tournament golf and loves having it. And I think right now we're focused on just getting a lot of this infrastructure put in right now. But I think there could be something, in the near future down here.
Awesome. What would you say is one thing that you've learned, or possibly the biggest lesson that you've learned from working with either Johnny or some of these incredible, first of all, just golf heroes, but also just incredible architects, designers over the course of your years there?
I would say working with Johnny definitely is don't be afraid to dream big. Um, and don't be afraid to do it. The reward will come at the end. And I think with these golf architects, I think just the steadfastness of it and just the approach to the game. I've learned so much now when I go and I can go play other places or whatever. I kind of am paying attention to the architecture and how things. I mean, I knew some before that, but just being able to spend the time I've been able to do and just the different approaches to architecture now to how golf course. I mean, there's several ways to skin a cat, and not one's not better than the other one. And so I think that's been the the things that I've taken the most from it, and just and like I said off the very start is just the passion that John's instilled in everybody and in me. And I was passionate about this business before, but I'm probably some around me would probably say I'm passionate about it now. I really believe in what we're doing, and I believe in what John and his family are doing, and I think that this is going to be, you mentioned the Bandon Dunes and the Whistling Straits, and those of the world, and Pinehurst, and those are fabulous places and everything. And I think we're building something that's going to be every bit as good as them, if not hopefully better on our end. And that's our drive, and that's our passion. Is we want to be the best. John wants to be the best. I want to be the best. And we think that, here at Big Cedar, with the resort and the spas and the fun center for the kids and the lake and the marinas and boat rentals and dogwood canyons, to take nature walks and go fishing and do things like that, that we have something that maybe those others don't, in a sense, to supply on, when people come down here to play golf. So you can come as a family, you can come as a guy's trip, what better way to come play golf for 3 days and go fish for 2 days or something, on a guided fishing deal, or go shooting at the shooting academy, so we feel like we've got a lot to offer down here. A lot of people don't know about us. It's amazing how many people I still come across are like, man, if I knew that this was here, with this whole coronavirus thing, we've had a lot of people coming down here to us now because they don't want to get on airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
Had golf trips booked, to Whistling or Bandon or whatever, and they've come down here recently and they're like, dude, I had no idea that this was, we hear that time and time again, that this was this good and this was going to be this good. And I'm like, just wait, it's still coming, and we're not done. And so that's the exciting part for me. And I think that'll be good for people to come back, hopefully year after year, and come see us.
Yeah, I have so many people that I've told, hey, you got to get down there, and they're like, yeah, I got to do that. I'm like, no, really, they don't understand. It's like, you can see a picture of a place and think, oh, that's great looking, but then once you get there, it just opens up, and like going to the Grand Canyon or something like that, where you can't express it enough in a picture or talking to somebody until they see it. They just don't understand it. So you guys have done an amazing job. All right, I got a couple questions to finish up the podcast here with you. A few fun ones to finish off on, if you're ready.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Caddyshack all the way, man. That's like everybody thinks my profession. That's me, we try to dispel that. My National Association GCSAA would not like me, but Carl Spackler, everybody, that's who they think we are. But hopefully we're more than Carl Spackler.
Exactly. Mixing up your own types of grass in the clubhouse there, right?
Yeah.
If you could play 18 holes of golf with anyone in the world, past or present, who would it be, and where would you play?
So obviously, and not just because I'm building this golf course, but when I was growing up, I was a huge Tiger fan. I came out of that era. So I've actually interacted with him and met him in person several times, but I would still want to play golf with him. I'd be nervous, but Tiger would be one. And then my second one would be Arnold Palmer, because I've never been able to meet Arnold Palmer, and I'd like to meet Arnold Palmer. And then old Tom Morris. I know that people, that's probably one that people don't mention, but in my profession, he's kind of the starter of the superintendent. And I would definitely play that over at St. Andrews and let old Tom guide us around, because I've never been over there to see the golf over there. Augusta National's a close second for me, but I'd want to go over and play the old course over there.
I was going to ask you if you'd been across the pond yet to go over there.
Unfortunately, no. And I thought I was going to be set to go maybe a bit later this year, and then all this stuff happened. So I got to get done building things here, and then hopefully I'll get over there one of these days. Mr. Watson, Tom, always tells me to get my butt over there. I need to get over there, but I just haven't been able to get over there.
Yeah, you can't say no to Mr. Watson, that's for sure. I'm actually listening to the book Tommy's Honor right now about old Tom and young Tom, and I've really started to dig into a lot of the history of the game and things like that, and it's so intriguing. I've never made it over there myself, but that's definitely on the bucket list for sure. All right, if you could pick a walk-up song to the first tee box, let's say the first tee box of Ozarks National, what would your walk-up song be?
Well, it's got to be Bad to the Bone, right? With your name and the title.
That's right.
Song, right? So that would be my song, I think.
Too easy for you, for sure.
Yeah.
And then my last was going to be, is there one person that has been the biggest influence on your career, and it could even be in golf or out of golf, but just somebody that has really influenced you in where you are today?
I've had several, but there's a couple guys who I was an assistant under. Woody Moriarty, who's the head superintendent at Blue Hills Country Club, and Jeff Eldridge, who's now the director of agronomy at Cordillera Ranch in San Antonio, Texas. Those two guys really, really shaped me as a superintendent and taught me pretty much everything I know, and I owe a lot to those guys. And then obviously my parents just instilling, my dad just hard work in me and doing that stuff. So I'm very grateful to those guys.
Awesome. Well, Todd, I can't thank you enough for your time today and just letting us know a little bit more about the work that you guys are doing at Big Cedar. Like I said, I could not be a bigger fan, and am hoping to get down there again in the near future, because I want to see everything that's going on firsthand. I want to go have another beer up in that clubhouse and putt on the Himalayas and see all that stuff. But you guys are doing an incredible job, and thanks for joining us here on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate that. Everybody come see us. We'll be happy to have you down here. So.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us on the 18 Strong podcast. I'm telling you, you got to get down to Big Cedar Golf down in Branson, Missouri. You will not be disappointed. All right, we'll catch up with you again next week with another great guest. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.